For those of you that love talking about animals, from Sci News, research reveals role of dinosaur beaks. By using CT scanning technology combined with computer simulations, paleontologists have revealed what role keratinous beaks of some dinosaurs played in their life. And now, from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to Creature Guy Live Prehistoric News. And let's dive right back into the prehistoric news of the day. Okay, so by the looks of this, it seems to be some species of theropod dinosaur. It seems to be looking at the skull shape and how the neck's aligned with it. I'm going to guess this is a species of Therizinosaur. Uh, haven't seen this picture before. What on earth is fighting in the background? Some sort of crocodilomorph.
You think his ears are properly placed?
Oh, maybe not. Everything else looks okay though. Gave him very large and orbital fenestra.
His pupil's kind of weird.
The nostril, I'm not sure. It might need to be a little more thin or just narrower and with. Wait, what did you say?
Look at his pupil.
Oh, I don't know what to say about that. Oh, Arlichosaurus andrewsi. Hmm. Okay. I believe I am familiar with this animal. It's not hitting me at the moment. The study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences is focused on the skull of Arlichosaurus andrewsi, a 4-meter long or 13-foot herbivorous dinosaur called a therizinosaur. So this is one of the smaller species of therizinosaur. So yes, this is related to Therizinosaurus from Mongolia.
He doesn't look small.
Um, well, okay, maybe you could say it's medium sized, but
I just meant it was a close-up shot.
I'm guessing this animal probably weighed somewhere around 1,800 pounds. Erlikosaurus lived in what is today Mongolia during the Cretaceous, about 90 million years ago. So this is about 20 million years before Therizinosaurus evolved. Fossil evidence shows that the snout of this dinosaur was covered by a keratinous beak. So the beak would be covered in an extra layer of keratin, and keratin is the same substance that your fingernails and hair are made out of. This would have been the same for many species of dinosaurs when it comes to not just covering their beaks, but as well as their horns, many of their osteoderms. I believe there was something else that came out about a certain other type of protective layer over the osteoderm that wasn't exactly keratin, unless I'm mistaken with somebody just adding something to their depiction. The findings of the new study show that the beak of Erlikosaurus played an important role in stabilizing its skeletal structure during feeding, making the skull less susceptible to bending and deformation. Well, that's interesting. This actually is rarely talked about when it comes to dinosaur beaks. In fact, usually what's mentioned with their beaks is that they're formed in a certain way. They might have been used to either strip off certain leaves or flowers, branches, or fight one another. Not this, though. This is a bit more in depth. It has classically been assumed that beaks evolved to replace teeth and thus save weight as a requirement for the evolution of flight. Our results, however, indicate that keratin beaks were in fact beneficial to enhance the stability of the skull during biting and feeding. So that's really interesting. So apparently, beaks are playing a much bigger role in feeding than just simply stripping off leaves. I mean, they're really helping the skull stay intact. So this is rarely talked about. Now, taking a look at some other dinosaurs close to this time, this is around 85 million years ago over in the state of New Mexico. This is a species of Therizinosaur called Nothronicus, which could reach somewhere around 17 feet in length and probably weigh around 3,000 pounds. So it was a medium sized species of Therizinosaur. It is very possible that this animal was covered in feathers. It is related to different species of theropod. In fact, it is a theropod. But unlike most species of theropods, which tend to be mostly carnivorous, the therizinosaurs were mostly herbivorous or feeding on a wide range of different species of trees. And it's a big debate as to whether or not their long claws were used, as well as arms, were used to help bring down branches when feeding. But when it comes to the therizinosaurs, their arms and even the species with the longer claws couldn't reach beyond their skull. So why would you or how would those benefit you when pulling down branches when you don't need them necessarily pulled down? So it's a big question as to what they were used for. Maybe defense. There have been also other theories suggesting that these animals had relatively weak claws, but then what was it? I think what occurred was that it mentioned that they were too weak when it came to a certain type of job, like digging. Like if the animal was digging for roots, and then it would simply put too much pressure on the claws. But I think if it were to come to defense, maybe even snapping off smaller branches, holding them possibly, I think they would have been fairly fine. Just taking a look at another animal. So this animal is also from the early Cretaceous. So this is around 115 million years ago, and this is Sonorosaurus, which is a distant relative of the Sauroposeidon. Sonorosaurus was a bit smaller though. This animal could reach somewhere around 60 feet in length and probably weigh around 20 to 30 tons. So it is a distant relative of the Brachiosaur lineage of sauropod dinosaurs.
Okay, these pictures look completely different from each other.
Um, I mean, they're both okay. I think this guy looks a bit better. Now, I think that other one's just an older depiction, but he has a lot more muscle added to his neck, especially when looking at later species. If this is a titanosaur, which possibly is, titanosaurs tend to have much more robust necks than their brachiosaur, definitely diplodocid cousins. This is giving it a more brachiosaur sort of a look. Anyway, let's head back to the article. Oh, and this animal was probably feeding on different species of conifers. Occasionally, it might be feeding on ferns or flowers, but that's when it just decides it needs a slight appetizer added to its diet, which occurs even with modern day giraffes. They just occasionally want something else besides acacia trees. Now, remember, there are many different species of acacias. Okay, so let's see. Using finite element analysis, a computer modeling technique routinely used in engineering, we were able to deduce very accurately how bite and muscle forces affected the skull of Erlikosaurus during the feeding process. This further allowed us to identify the importance of soft tissue structures such as the keratinous beak, which are normally not preserved in fossils. Yeah, so this is has it mentioned a whole lot? Hasn't said a whole lot about it. Here, I'm just going to keep going. Oh, it's the last thing. Beaks evolved several times during the transitions from dinosaurs to modern birds, usually accompanied by the partial or complete loss of teeth. And our study now shows that keratin covered beaks represent a functional innovation during dinosaur evolution. I'm also wondering when the keratinous beaks first evolved. Now, what is interesting is that many of these different species of dinosaurs, now not so much the Therizinosaurus, but the ceratopsians, so animals like Triceratops, Torosaurus, they had beaks, but they still had over 100 teeth inside of their mouth. So it's just interesting how you had it where certain species of plant eating dinosaurs had beaks, but they were toothless, whereas other species had beaks, but they still had teeth that were quite advanced when it came to chewing, especially when you're looking at the hadrosaurs or the duckbill dinosaurs. Now, looking at another species of dinosaur from the Cretaceous period, this is Arizona around 90 million years ago. This is an early relative of Triceratops, specifically Zuniceratops, which reached somewhere around 13 feet in length and probably weighed around 5 to 600 pounds. So it's definitely a smaller species of ceratopsian. but at this point, they weren't very large. It is a member of the Chasmosaur lineage, though, so it is more closely related to ceratopsians like Triceratops, as opposed to the centrosaurs such as Centrosaurus or Pachyrhinosaurus. But this was somewhere around 22 million years before Triceratops would evolve. And yeah, it is interesting how Zuniceratops has a more Torosaurus sort of a frill look and quite an elongated side horn, which can actually be seen in a few different species of ceratopsians. Now, yeah, also like even distinct, like a horn structure. Oh, okay. So this is also an early species of Tyrannosaur. So this is from Mongolia, however, from about 90 million years ago. It did not feed on Zuniceratops, however. They never came into contact with each other. So Electrosaurus could reach somewhere around 14 feet in length and probably weigh somewhere around 1,600 pounds. So around the same size as a later species of Tyrannosaurus Cyanosaurus. However, it was much more heavily built. Uh, if this is a representation of Electrosaurus, it's definitely a much. This is probably 1950s, maybe 1960s at most. Look of the animal is quite interesting. I don't know what to compare it to. It's very out of proportion, and so are they. But this looks like maybe 1980s. Um,
Why does that arm look weird?
yeah, it does. It's very it's hugging the body, but it's positioned a little too far back, and odd legs too. I think this model looks much better than this, but it should have a much longer skull compared to its body size. Now, if you were to take the musculature into account, I don't think it's that bad of an arm. But besides that, yeah, the feet. I think the toes are a little too short. The tail, I think, is okay. This individual is a bit better, but there's just still something odd about it. It just has really small feet. Um, anyway, let me know in the comments who your favorite species of long clawed dinosaur is, considering we were talking about therizinosaurs. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.